Coach, Peter Jacques is a guy that hurt you last year, especially that real early run in the second half. What are you going to do to try to stop him, try to limit him?
Well, I don't know if you can stop him.
Yeah.
You know, he's such a great scorer. I think with great scorers, what you try to do is try to take them off their sweet spots, try to make them take some shots that they don't want to take. And he's going to make some shots. You can't give him easy looks. You can't give him layups, and try not to let him get free throws. But you have to do a great job being disciplined. He's so good in transition, finding the open areas. I think he's gotten better off the dribble this year. You know, in the past, he was a great catch and shoot guy that was a little bit limited off the bounce. Now he's creating off the bounce. He's posting up. He's having a great year. He's playing great. So it's got to be a disciplined game plan. And the thing about it is they have other good players, so you can't sell out so much on him and allow guys like Bohannon and Tyler Cook and Moss and Nicholas Bear and these guys to get wide open shots, because they can hurt you too.
Chris, as you may have seen earlier today, the NCAA announced that they're going to start discussing putting more metrics into the selection process for the tournament,
I didn't see that.
KPI, RHOP, Ken Palm, Sager, and things like that. And I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on, do you think that's a good idea maybe to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's never really been a barometer of, they never really tell you, what they look at. You know, I mean, we all kind of project. You guys do it, we do it. Do they look at Ken Palm? Do they look at KPI? Do they look at RPI? What is weighted? So maybe it would be nice if we kind of knew what their metric was that they really studied and looked at. And I didn't get a chance to see the report just because it's been a quick turnaround for us. But, you know, I've always thought the more we can do to kind of, you know, get a committee and actually get some more basketball people involved too. Maybe some former coaches. I mean, the ADs do a great job. They do the best they can do, but I've always thought maybe some older kind of retired coaches that have been around and understand the process, and maybe you can get a couple other voices in the room that kind of know what it's about, that can help with it. And whatever's going to help the game and help the process and help the tournament would be great for me. So, you know, I'm all for it if I think it can be better for the game.
Sanjay's a guy that's been here through Carmody as well as you. What has he kind of meant to help you build this program? What has he meant to this team?
Well, I mean, from day one, he was part of us establishing our culture. And there's no right or wrong culture, but the culture that we were trying to create of work ethic and how you come to practice, the time, the investment you put into this. And he was at the forefront of that. I mean, for me, I have a picture up in my office, and I'm always going to, and he's in it. You know, that it was 5 guys my first year when we won at Wisconsin in the Kohl Center. And it was Trey and Drew Crawford and Jershawn and Sanjay and Ola. And they were kind of walking arm in arm. You know, and to me, and there's other guys as well, but to me, those 5 guys kind of represent the start of this, because they really bought in. You know, they had no reason to, but they believed in me from day one. They believed in what we were trying to do. And we've just had Sanjay now for 4 years. So little by little, he's been able to pass it on to the younger guys, and he's gotten better. And I've called him all along, he's a rock. You know, he's never going to be measured by his stats. And we want him to have great stats, but, you know, some games he's not. But just his presence out there and what he brings to our team and our huddles is invaluable.
I know it was kind of quiet in the second half, but Isaiah Brown in the first half yesterday was absolutely huge for you guys.
Huge.
How important was that? What did he bring? It kind of looked like he was, you know, the one guy that was going to the basket, making things happen.
Yeah, I mean, he was great last night, especially I think he had about 11 of our 25 in the first half. And, you know, that's what we've envisioned him being able to do. Maybe when guys are struggling to get it going, it was, you know, we're getting better now, but we had a rash of sickness throughout our team. You guys could probably see by looking at some of the guys' faces who they were, but we had some guys that have been really down and out, you know, so I thought our energy level was a little bit low. And to have a guy like Isaiah to come in and have that energy and to kind of get us jump-started when we were struggling. Rutgers brought the fight to us early. There was no question. Their defensive pressure, they're mashing us on the offensive boards, they're driving us. They were the hungrier team early, and I thought Isaiah's ability to come in and kind of keep the game within. I mean, I thought we were lucky to only be down 3. I mean, I thought we were badly outplayed in the first half. And a big reason why we had it at 3 was his play, which was huge for us to be able to regroup and then play well in the second half and not have to come back from a double-digit deficit.
In halftime there, and we talk about building the culture of this program, I'm curious how much after that rough first half was you and the coaches talking to the guys, but how much, if at all, did the players kind of take on themselves to...
Yeah, they've been better at that this year, and we've had a couple instances where we've had to do that. We've been, the game before that too, the 14-0 run at Nebraska, when we have that 2-minute meltdown and they, everything's going nuts and the momentum's against us. I think these last 2 games, the way our guys were at halftime was huge. They regrouped, they talked out the game, they talked about what we were and weren't doing, and that's how you know you're starting to get there as a good team. I mean, did I say things? Absolutely. Did our staff say things? Yes. But to hear them talking the game out and to hear them trying to figure it out when it's not going well is a huge thing. I mean, you're not going to play your best every night, and a lot of it has to do with the other team at times, and sometimes it's yourself. And a game like last night for us, that game had a lot of trappings for teams to get beat. It's been an emotional week here on campus. As you guys know, we had a lot of guys sick. You're playing at 9 o'clock Eastern, a late game. There's a lot of distractions and trappings for a team for it to be okay to lose that game. And for our guys to dig down after not playing well early and to say, you know what, we're going to find a way. I think it showed a lot about who these guys are and was big for our team.
So at halftime, you and your staff stood outside the door to talk, right?
Well, we talked to the guys initially. We talked to them and then we leave.
Oh, okay.
And then they get about 5-6 minutes to themselves.
So you didn't walk in and on players who were yelling at each other?
No, we didn't. No, they listened to me first, and then we get away and we let them talk it out. And so I don't know what was said. You'd have to ask those guys, but whatever it was productive because we were a different team in the second half. I thought we played really well the last 20 minutes.
Just wondered if you'd seen that alpha male stand up.
I didn't. I mean, it was different voices, which is good. Bryant saying some stuff, Vic's talking, Scotty's talking. Sanjay saying things. I mean, Derek's really become a guy who's had a vocal voice for us. I mean, he's really emerged as a leader, which is good. So I think it was more collectively. It wasn't really one guy doing all the talking.
Vic had 19 in the second half, probably one of the better halves.
Yeah, he was great. He was great
in recent memory. What did you see out of him? I noticed that he was going to the basket a little bit more than he had been previously.
Yeah.
But also Scotty had a really good second half against Nebraska. Do you think that speaks to those two guys' development being a little bit older now?
Yeah, I hope so. And I think they know now. It's a long game, and there's ebbs and flows in the game. And in the past, maybe for both those guys, if it wasn't going well early, they really wouldn't get out of it. And so now for them to be able to not have it going, I think in the first half, our 3 perimeter guys were like 3 for 19 or something like that. And Brian was 0 for 5, Vic was 2 for 8, Scotty was 1 for 6 or something. And for all of those, I thought all 3 of them in the second half, but especially those 2 wings really put us on their back. And Vic got to the line 9 times, which was huge. It wasn't just as being a jump shooter. Like you said, he got out in transition. He got some layups. We posted him a couple times and got him down low. So it was great to see him to be able to do that when we really needed it. I mean, points were a premium, and I thought his play was huge in the second half last night.
Vic generally, when a player gets hurt and has sit out for a year, comes back a little hungrier often.
Yeah.
Did you see that in him, and how's that affected him throughout the year?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, not that I would say he took the game for granted, but watching him over there last year sit through the whole conference season and not be able to play, you just saw in his eyes like, man, I want to be out there. I got to be out there. And when he was cleared to start doing stuff last spring, you just saw a little bit of extra bounce, a little bit of hunger, a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder to kind of get back and not only get back to being who he was, but get better and become the elite player that he's become. So, I think sometimes that's where injuries, you never like to see guys get hurt, but sometimes you can see that being a little bit of a blessing. I'm seeing it now with Falzone. I mean, he's chomping at the bit, and you see him in the locker room. Sometimes I'll catch his eye, and he wants to be in there with his team. And so once he's able, Rapolis the same way, once those guys are able to come back, it's the old adage, you don't really know what you got till it's gone, and I think injuries have a way of bringing those out, and guys, when they have those type of things happen to them.
You've also talked how building the program is a process. Same thing is true of a player development.
Yeah.
In Vic's process, what was the biggest jump he had to make going from being sort of that skittish colt he was as a freshman to the thoroughbred he is now?
I just think his attention, his attention to detail is much greater. I think Vic had a tendency at times, you remember too, for him, he played on a great high school team. He played with Charles Matthews, Dominique Matthews, so he was never even a guy in high school that had to be, every night we got to get 25. So he had a tendency in games to go long stretches with not really knowing if he was out there. I think the biggest thing for him was being a presence at all times, staying hungry, staying aggressive, and not having stretches of games where he's kind of floating and not making his impact. And part of that is shape and strength and confidence. And, I think the more he's put in that situation, I was hoping he would get that, in the way we play and the way we would feature him. You're almost forced to do that because we need him to be that guy. So it's been a big part of his development and growth. And what's exciting too is he's only a sophomore.
Sure.
That's, for me, looking at these guys, you're seeing guys who aren't, Bryant with another year left, Gavin and Scotty, but you have Vic and Derek as sophomores. Our two freshmen are coming along. So I've been excited about our player development. I'm seeing guys getting better. Our coaches do a great job. And, that's who we have to be. We've said that all along. We need to find the guys that fit us, the guys that we believe in, that think that, with their work ethic, with our coaching, with our system, our environment, they can be guys that can win big. And fortunately, these guys have answered the bell and have done a great job with that.
And Vic came knowing that there was more to scoring points than winning basketball.
Yeah.
How rare is that to find that kind of kid in this sort of age of highlight films?
Yeah, well, for me, that's why right when I got the job, he'll tell you the first day on the job, I was at St. Rita. That's because of what you're saying. I knew he was a must get. As soon as I saw him, as soon as I talked to him, as soon as I listened to what was important to him, the kind of guy he was, and you saw the potential, length, athleticism, skill. Immediately I knew as we started this, he was a guy we had to have. And he's been all that and more. That's what's exciting. And that's why that first group of guys, I'll always be indebted to those guys because they jumped into something. It's a lot easier to come here now. People were winning. They see how we're going to play. For those guys, I'd never coached a game. They didn't know how I would coach. They didn't know what we would run. They didn't know. So for that group of guys, Gavin, Scotty, Vic, and Bryant, the belief and faith they had in me, sight unseen, other than a vision, a dream, a goal, I'll always be indebted to them for that. And so those guys are really special, and it's been fun to see them be rewarded for that faith and their work ethic and how they've matured, each of them as players.